Everyone, my name is Emicia Parker. I have the pleasure of being a friend of the
Samora Jones.
And she has a fabulous podcast called Shattered Hole.
Yes.
It's so good. It's literally all of the things. And I have the distinguished pleasure of being able to be a part of Shattered Hole Presents
Heart to Heart.
That actually reminds me of like the Brandy song. You need to give it up.
Had a body now.
Yes.
I don't know. Wait. I'm like, why?
The joy is mine. Yes.
I was like, that's not what she said.
But that's what happens when you heal. You get to claim that healing. You get to claim that joy.
Okay.
You get to claim that new you.
I'm tracking. Yes.
So in claiming your healing and in becoming the new you, though, there's another thing that nobody talks about.
The transition. Yeah.
That part where you have to grieve the old you.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about that because, you know, we like talking about things that no one is talking about. It's a catch-22. Either people are going to want to talk about it with us because no one's talking about it, or no one's going to want to talk about it, and that's why no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
Gotta roll the dice in life.
But you already clicked on it, so you here now.
That's obviously what I'm saying.
It's for good reason. So listen, get comfortable.
Yes.
Okay. Like, get comfortable. Come on in the room. It's a heart-to-heart conversation.
Yes, it is.
So there's safety here. Okay. We're gonna love on you. We're gonna probably make you a little uncomfortable.
It's a little bit.
But I think we're gonna give you some relief.
Yes.
In some places. And also validate that you ain't crazy.
Yeah, in real life. You know, like the Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when we think about like double-mindedness, we think about people who are willfully duplicitous.
Yeah.
People who are sinning. So they're trying to be one thing and trying to be another. But sometimes double-mindedness can happen when there's a duality within you of the person that you used to be and the person that you're becoming.
Yeah.
And so I think that there are people right now who are experiencing an inner conflict, you know, who are experiencing like a discomfort, a pain, a very real pain, because, man, you're about to become somebody else that's different than the person that you are.
Yeah.
But the tools and the resources and the defaults that you have are correlated to that old person.
Correct.
But
correct.
You got to become somebody else.
You got to.
And it's sad sometimes, right?
It is.
I mean, like, when you think about like that person who used to be the life of the party, but now you're a new mom.
Snatched.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of it has like this doomsday on it, right? As if the new robbed you.
Yeah.
And it didn't rob you. It didn't rob you. It didn't rob you. You matured out of that stage and out of that season. I don't think anyone desires to be in the same place in a cycle of forever. I agree. And how you know you don't is your body is the first demonstration of it because it grows. Absolutely. And even when you've hit your optimal height, your body begins to still age, which means your cells are still growing. Yes. There's still this process of still moving into the next. Yes. As a physical manifestation of the fact that you have to still keep transitioning from day to day.
Yes. Yeah. And that's so heavy. I think that a lot of people get stuck in that process.
Yeah.
Because it's such a hard thing to do, to actively change things within yourself without having a complete picture of what's on the other side of that process.
Right.
You know, you're transitioning. It's one thing to say, I'm in school and, you know, I'm putting in the work for this degree because I know I'm about to transition into the graduate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in this relationship and I'm putting in the work because I know I'm about to transition into the wife or the husband. But, you know, I'm pregnant and, man, I'm uncomfortable. But I'll put in the work because I'm about to transition into becoming a mom.
Yeah.
But when you're healing and you're fighting through the old you, you don't always have a picture of who you're going to be on the other side.
Right. So you tend to hold on to the past, the version of you that you know no longer serves not just you, because sometimes I think we're always talking about the fact that things don't, well, if this is not serving you to do, it's not serving anything. And here's the thing, it even doesn't serve the family or the community that you're a part of, because they recognize the struggle in you and they're like, I don't know why you're acting like that or why you have an attitude. We always did this. We always, and I'm like, you can't even find peace in staying in your old.
That's so good.
You can't even find peace staying in your old because you know that it's time for you to develop out of that.
Yes.
And I like words like develop and transition because it gets away from this belief system that once you make the decision that you want to do something different, that different should be.
Yeah, automatically.
And I'm like, and it doesn't work that way. One of the things that we were talking about was the different results of having something go into the microwave or go into the air fryer versus going into the oven.
Yes.
Right? I was like, people were ecstatic about the microwave because I got something that took an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or something that took an hour and 2 minutes, really. I was like, you put something in the microwave for 10 minutes, I don't know what you're making.
But have y'all ever ate a hot dog from the microwave?
No. It
tastes like a ham ball. It tastes like somebody sprinkled adobo on a ham ball.
Wow.
It's not the texture that you want to eat.
So you're saying that I should go through the process that thing was created to go through
That's what I'm saying.
In order to get the best result, so that the experience that comes at the end of it was what it was purposed to do?
Literally that part. That part.
Okay.
And that's sad because when we think about our own processes, they're not fun oftentimes. No. And there's a grief that comes with it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting that, like, a lot of times when you're going through these major transitions in your healing journey, it correlates to a loss because you're losing, people, you're losing aspects of who you were, you're losing places that you used to enjoy. And that loss comes with a grief that looks very similar to like the 5 stages of grief in psychology, where you have, first you have denial, right? And denial is when
and I want to read out these stages because I think the way that it's structured gives a very clear and specific. Anytime that you watch me, I'm gonna give you a definition of something.
No, Samora will.
Because what happens is we use words and we believe the content of how the word is being used culturally, societally, and not actually know the real definition or the word in its right context.
Yes.
And so we attach these emotions, feelings to these words that are not actual.
Yes.
So the reason why I give you the definition is not because I don't think that you know this or you've ever heard this word before, but I really want you to center in and what it means, so that as you are processing through all of the information and connection that we're giving you, that you're like, oh, I see that for real. Oh, that's the right word, right? So denial is the first stage of what is correlated with grief, but it also can be a part of transition where a person may struggle to accept the reality of the situation. I don't see why I got to do that. Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't have to do that. I don't have to go that way. I can just still do this and get this result. Like, I don't want to lose. Like, I've been a part of this job like forever. Like, I don't want to leave this job. Like, they know me. I already know how to do everything. And you're trying to get me to go for this promotion, or you're telling me to all together, like, leave this job. Like, what if, what if I lose that job, or what if I don't get that job? What if they find out that the place that I'm in found out that I wanted to be and go somewhere else? Mm-hmm. Are they going to think that I don't appreciate that, what they've done for me or whatever? There's so much fear. There's so much what if. There's so much external narrative, right, that is playing into, and mind you, not facts.
And let's be honest, that narrative building becomes world building, because now you're building your whole internal world around this narrative that you created that may not be true.
Correct.
And I think denial is because there's this cognitive discrepancy where you have this one, idea of how you think things are, and then the healing process is showing you something else. Because sometimes that denial can be, oh yeah, no, but I was abused like when I was a child. It doesn't still affect me. Right. Denial.
Denial. Right. Then you go into like anger. Anger is the next stage where a person may feel frustrated, irritable, or resentful towards others, or the situation itself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that don't sound like that, there's a hopefully, like, when we put this up, I can post like a picture or something like that shows like the graph of change, right? And I was like, there is this period of, you're so angry about it, you feel out of control. You feel out of control. You're like, yo, what
that is so real. Because again, you go from, oh, that happened to me when I was a child, it's not still affecting me, to, but why would he do that to me? Why would she do that to me?
Right.
Why would that person who was supposed to take care of me hurt me like that?
Yeah.
And you begin, it becomes reanimated.
Yeah.
Because I think very often in that denial period, things are still buried. But it's like this part, when you get to this anger, that's when that hand, like, remember Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah.
That hand starts coming up from where you buried it at, and it's going to snatch you.
And I was like, and in doing that, you feel unstable, you feel out of place. You are having an internal fight with, this is not just, I don't just feel anger. I'm probably really scared. And then you go into this next thing, bargaining. If bargaining involves trying to negotiate with one's self, you're trying to negotiate with you, right? And then, or with a higher power, now you're trying to negotiate with God to change the situation. Well, maybe if I just do this or whatever, I only do this at one part or whatever. Like, sometimes you got to snatch it off like a Band-Aid.
Yes.
And I was like, and I'll talk about real quick. I was like, change is something that happens quickly and usually without permission.
Yes.
Right? I was like, transition is something that you need to literally navigate into through process, right?
That's good.
I was like, it's the turning of the ship. If you turn the ship too fast, it'll flip over.
Yes.
I was like, but you have to have this plan of the direction that you're going into, and then go through the steps necessary in order to get the ship to turn. So that period where you're bargaining, you're trying to figure out, how much do I have to turn?
Yeah, how much do I have to turn?
Like, how much
do I have to really believe that this person who I loved is a monster?
Right.
Can they not just be the person that I love? Maybe I remembered it wrong. This is what bargaining looks like.
Yeah.
Or maybe I did something to cause it.
Right. And when you start bargaining, or even in that case, trying to dilute the reality of what is, you will stay going back into anger and denial.
And that's the beautiful thing about these stages, y'all, is that you think that they just come one after another. You can always shuttle back into one and then go forward into another one. Like, that's a very typical thing, especially because the emotions of this are so intense.
Yeah. And another one goes into depression, right? It goes, depression can set in as a person begins to fully comprehend the loss of themselves.
Yes.
And the impact that it has on their life. Who am I? If I'm not this.
If I'm not the life of the party and my party's going to be the diaper genie.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean for me?
What does that mean for me? Right? And it can blind you from the good that's coming for the reason why you're changing in the first place.
Oh, that's so good.
Like, it will try to hijack your mindset so that you can self-sabotage.
Yes.
Your transition and stay always in the in-between.
No, that's so true. And that speaks to where I am in certain places in my life as well. And I think a large part of that is because depression is a lens fogger. You know, you can't see clearly through depression.
Yeah.
Depression is also a liar, if we're going to be honest. Like, so depression isn't going to say, oh no, like, there's so much wonderful things on the other side of this for you. When has anyone who was depressed ever felt that?
Never.
Like, that has never happened. So I think that's a large part of why, like, you kind of settle into that, is because, like, you can't even see clearly once you hit that depression stage.
And in depression, you have partial truths. Right? You have the part of the truth that keeps you heavy, but not the part of the truth that shows you any relief, that sets you free.
Yes.
And I was like, in that sense, you have these foggy, like, glasses on, and you can't really fully see the full picture. Being able to be willing to navigate out of that and transition out of that space, with not just a decision, but whatever it takes to help you get out of that stuck place. Because I don't want to be depressed. I am depressed. And I need help here.
Yes.
Right? And then when you get past that, you get into this place of acceptance, right? The final stage.
There will be joy after this.
Hello? Where the person comes to terms with the situation and begins to move forward.
Oh man, that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And we'll touch on, like, the piece of that and what comes with that. Like, when you get to that place of acceptance. And I want to, and I love how things are not so separated.
Yes.
When you think about not knowing how you were going to get past the losing of a loved one in this particular area, and you did.
Yes.
And you went through these stages, and not necessarily in that order.
Yes.
Right? It is a demonstration that you can get past the grief of losing
the old you.
Yes. And part of that, when I think of it, there's some aspects of me that I couldn't wait to run away from. I was ready to change. I was like, we out. I was ready to transition. It wasn't a problem. It was certain things that I had solidified as a part of my identity that was more difficult to transition out of.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that's the thing.
I was like, oh, I don't know who I am outside of this.
And we kind of touched on this prior, but it's just like with Naomi in the story in the book of Ruth, where it's like her grief changed her identity.
Yeah.
She was like, don't even call me Naomi. Naomi means sweet. Call me Mara, because the Lord has dealt with me bitterly.
Yeah.
And when you stay in something long enough, it can begin to affect your identity.
Correct.
And also the old you, there were things about the old you that were celebrated.
Exactly.
People like the girl that, is going to curse everybody out and pop up. She's entertaining.
Correct.
She's getting invited everywhere.
Correct.
Because we don't even know. We might all end up on World Star carrying her out.
No. Well.
When was the last time you saw a sanctified person on World Star? I'll wait.
I'm like, they could have been. I don't watch it. And that's why I was like, I don't know if I can answer that question. But I was like, there were friends that I had that missed the version of me that all I did was curse you out. Yeah. Like, it was funny. Yeah. Listen, I didn't realize how much of a television I was for people. I was entertainment.
You and you thought they were laughing with you.
No, they were laughing at me. You. And then I was, and they embraced that side of me, one, because it was useful. Yes. For what they needed to kind of put me in for, because I've always been a very like protective person. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, if I call you friend, I'm like,
nah, she a friend for real.
Don't touch.
She a for real friend.
Don't touch my folk. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, don't touch my people. So they used to utilize the fact that I was so protective to be reckless with what they were doing around me, with this safety net of, I can use the pit bull in her to protect me from the behavior that I'm acting out in. Literally that. And I didn't think it was a problem, because it made me feel, and if I'm being honest, because I was like, I don't think we talk about that enough. I enjoyed the sin I was in.
Yeah, and I think very often too, it comes down to the way that we understand power. Yeah. Because when we think of someone who will bite your head off, you poke that person, they'll punch you in the face. That person sounds a lot more powerful than the person who's forgiving people. So it almost feels like you're divesting yourself of power.
Yeah. And they're not. Yeah. Here's the thing.
Forgiveness is powerful.
Forgiveness is powerful.
That's harder.
It's powerful. Here's the thing. I didn't find out how much the person who was the reserved one, who was quiet, who was forgiven, who was the bigger person, as they quote unquote say, like, how much restraint, how much power that they had, how much resilience that they had. Here's the thing. How much self-worth they had.
Because you know what? Those world star people, they don't even think about all the things they have to lose. You can't think very highly of yourself and then allow yourself to get into a fight where you could get stabbed or shot. So self-worth, yes. And some things will be beneath you.
And to say that, I'm like, there are some things that are beneath me. Yes. And I understand that, because I did what was necessary to transition from beneath to above.
Yes. Yes.
Right? One of my favorite chapters in the Bible is Colossians 3. And in the very beginning of it, it goes, set your eyes on what's above and not what's beneath. And I was like, why? Like, I was like, I just sat there. Like, sometimes you'll read the word and you'll just sit in that one sentence. You just sit in that one place and you're like, God, I just want to sit in this real quick, because I'm trying to figure out why this is so important. That this would be a part of this statement, like, so heavy and so hard. And it just went into, like, how distracting it is that if you have a vision of something, you have an understanding of what you want to accomplish. You're thinking of the better. You're thinking of the good. You're thinking of the space that you want to have. You're thinking of the laughter that you want, the vacations that you want to go through. I'm not even talking about like this deep physiological. What is it? What language? What language? Philosophical like thing. Like, I want to go on vacation and be able to afford to do so. Literally. I want to go to school and not be in debt. Literally. I want to purchase this apartment. I want to purchase this house. I want to do this thing. I want to be able to fully laugh from my gut. Yeah. And with no pain attached to it. Like, I want to do these things that can be really abundant in my life. But the process of getting through to that is I have to go from below to above.
Transition.
I have to transition in this process. And that also means that if you don't even know my value, I need to teach you what my new value, new values are, because I'm willing to, one, make the adjustment, and then two, communicate the adjustment. I'm going to give you grace and me grace too, because you never met this version of me.
Yes.
So now I got to teach you me.
Yes.
And then I'm going to give myself grace because I've never been her before.
That's so good. And I think that you also touch on another aspect of the grief, which is the fact that in that process, you're going to lose some people.
Yeah.
Because you're definitely not going to be equally yoked, with the same group of people that you previously were. Some people are growing with you. Shout out to the people that's growing with you. But, there are a lot of people who, as a result of the new you that you're becoming, you'll have to leave them behind. And so often in my life, that has been the nostalgic relationships. That has been, my childhood friends. We like to say colloquially, my day ones, and I think we touched on this before when we were talking about friendships, but we're not socialized to view friendships as seasonal. We think that if a friendship ends and that's a failure, but the reality is, in the same way that Samora talked about how certain things no longer serve you, sometimes things did serve you for a period of time, and now that time is over, and you'll be called to do that in the lives of people as well. So that's another part of that grieving the old you, is that sometimes you have to grieve like some of the people that you were super like having fun with, but it's like now, like you can't do the same things anymore. It just doesn't even feel good to you. And that happens sometimes where like you'll try to reintroduce yourself to former environments, and then you'll get there and you feel different. You
feel the separation.
You do.
You feel the separation, and it's not a bad thing, right? Here's the thing: it's not a bad thing when you've learned not to degrade where you came from.
Of course,
right? I was like, I can respect my difference without treating the people or even the environment as if it was trash. Right. Now there may have been some. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. There may be some situations that was trash.
Yes.
Garbage.
Basura.
Listen, I can't remember this actress name, but she was on a podcast recently, and she was talking to, I think his name was Torre, and he was like, did you ever think that you would get married? The marriage was on the table for you. And she was just like, no, because when I looked outside, it was trash. She was like syringes. she was like debris. And I literally died. Like, I died laughing. And I was like, but here's the thing though. She had a hard time seeing the possibility of something that she did desire, because the evidence of what she was seeing in her eye gate didn't give her faith that she would accomplish that in her life. And that's exactly what we mean when we talk about why transitions can be difficult, because very often women who believe like that will stay with Tyrone with the 20 kids and the 25 baby mothers. Because it's like, syringes. Right. She said syringes, debris. I literally could not hold my peace. I could not hold my peace. And I was like, you shortchange yourself. Yeah, you really do. You shortchange yourself. Because you're supposed to grow, guys. Like, whether there's a grief attached to it or not, there's also a grief attached to staying the same. And I think that that's a worse grief, because there are very few feelings that are as heartbreaking as when you let yourself down. You can blame, you can deflect, you can do whatever you like to do externally, but when you go to bed and it's just you and that pillow and you're trying to go to sleep and like, I dropped that ball, man. Like, I didn't do that thing that I was supposed to do that would have moved me forward. Yeah. That's just a really, really hard feeling to let yourself down. Yeah. And I would even say to that, be willing to recover. Yeah. Be willing to recover. Don't give up on you, because you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to make all the right decisions. the great part of that is that you recognize that there was one.
Yes.
Like, some people don't know that they are treading down the wrong path because the path feels comfortable. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'll sit here and be like, oh, maybe I have arrived. And I'm like, you're comfortable, but you're not satisfied. And that's how you know.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's how you know.
I personally believe, this is just my personal, opinion, that God gives you grace for things for seasons.
Okay.
And when that season is ending, he's going to take that grace away because he doesn't want you to be comfortable in a place that you're not supposed to be in. When it's time to transition, this has happened with me with jobs. This has happened with me with relationships where I can work, however many hours at a certain job and I'm good. But then after a while, it's like, man, I don't want to do this. This don't feel right anymore. Now it starts to really affect you. Or in certain relationships, where you can deal with certain things and you have a grace for it. So, yeah, I definitely feel like God will show you when it's time to transition.
Yeah.
You'll start to feel something within yourself where you're not fulfilled in the thing that used to bring you fulfillment.
Correct. And this is where, this is very believer, talk, right? And I was like, but if you don't know God and you want to accept Him as your Lord and Savior, you can accept Him as your Lord and Savior.
Behold, He
today.
stands at the door and knocks.
Okay, and waits for you. Look, for you. He thought my producer thought I was about to go, and he was like, "Oh, I feel it."
Shut up.
I was like these stages in these places, and I want to make sure that we kind of hit to. What can I do to navigate the transition and the turn? Because there is, if I can get into your ear just for like a quick second, if I can get into your ear, if I can get into your mind, I do not believe that the people who watch this watch by happenstance. I just don't. I think whether you're seeing this as a clip on social media or that you are seeing this because you clicked on the episode or someone sent it to you or whatever the case may be, I'm going to maybe challenge you to do something, and that is to trust God more than you trust yourself.
Yeah.
And believe that He has a better plan that you can ever dream of. Yes. Because if you have some kind of a vision, but you're in a place where you're kind of depressed and your glasses are foggy. Yes. You need to trust His vision. Yes. Right? If I'm in a place where I'm really frustrated and I'm angry, and I'm irritated about just like really not understanding like where to be, I'm going to trust that I shouldn't stop. You know what I mean? I should maybe pause, but I shouldn't stop. Yeah. Because I'm going to trust God more than I trust myself in this space, in this moment. Like there's some things that I'm kind of in denial about. I'm going to trust God that He's going to help me be able to address what's hard for me and surrender.
Because the fact that you're feeling denial means that you're at least acknowledging that thing. Yeah. So let that acknowledgement be the thing that pushes you forward to surrender that thing to God.
Yeah. And then when you find yourself to start to bargain and like, oh, it is a demonstration of fear, right? And I'm going to surrender my fear to God so that I can rely on what He knows instead of what I think may be a possibility. And since you have a full vision of what you have for me and I'm trusting you, then I'm gonna let it go.
And that is so hard, but I really do believe that, like, if I had to give someone 3 tools for navigating a transition, the first one would definitely be vision. I think vision is so important. It's why, every December 31st, most of you get the poster board that your child was supposed to use for their science fair project. Stop. And you make your vision board. You cut out these pictures from magazines and I print them out from the internet because I just feel like there's more on Instagram than there is in, L. And, we create those things because we are capable of enduring so much hardship in transitioning when we know what's on the other side of it and it's something that we want.
Right.
So being able to connect the hardship of transition to the vision of who you're becoming, I think is very, very key. And so that's the first tool that I would give is vision. And in tandem with what my sis said, like, you know, seeing God's vision for you, because you could create your own vision for yourself. I know we're in a magical manifestation generation, and you know, some of y'all got demons manifesting stuff that's not God's will for your life.
Correct.
So yeah, you definitely have to depend on his vision before your own, and then just asking him, Lord, reveal your vision, you know, for my life. Reveal your vision for the person that you would like for me to become, and he'll do that.
When they go write the vision and make it plain, I'm like, if you believe that this is where you're supposed to go, like when I write it out, make it plain, and they go, God, is this right? And then trust God. Something that was freeing for me, because sometimes, like, when you don't know what to do, it'll give you paralysis.
Yeah.
And
they call it analysis paralysis.
You know what I mean? And shout out to my pastor, because he's just that guy. He had Dr. Tyrone Stevenson, Hope Christian Center. Hope City Church, right? One of the things that he had said, he was like, you know, I'm gonna stop being frozen in this place. He was like, I'm just gonna believe that God is God enough to redirect me, even if I make a mistake.
I think that's so good. And what's funny is that language of freezing, because, you know, I'm a researcher, and as a thesis advisor, we always are going through theories with students. And, you know, Lewin, who's a social scientist, came up with a theory of change, and it involves 3 stages. It is unfreezing, change, and then refreezing. And I think when we're talking about these transitions, a lot of people never even make it to change because they won't unfreeze. It's too difficult to unfreeze. That means you have to relearn. That means you have to accept that some of the things you learned were not correct. That means that maybe Big Mama didn't have all the answers about how you should eat. Maybe that means that your grandmother didn't have all the answers about who you should date. You know, because some people, as much as you love them, they have some flaws.
Yes, and I think that's why it's so important not to, like, look down on like someone else. I'm like, she's telling you, or he's telling you what worked for them. Exactly. Right? Or what they hope will work for you because what they did didn't work. Yeah. Because sometimes the advice that you're given, like I'm amazed by how many people who have never been married has so much marital advice. Yikes. I'm amazed by it. And to some degree, everyone is not like ill intent with it or think that they know better. Like what they have observed, they're like, I feel like I have the answer, and if you just do this, then this won't happen for you. Or even those who have gone into marriage, some people who have gone through the process of getting married but are not married. Yeah. Because you're not engaged and fully devoted and bought into the process. You just went through the motions. That's so big. And some people are married multiple times and divorced multiple times. Kevin Samuels. And it's like, you know, why are you listening to... Anytime I'm taking advice, it's from someone who's achieved an outcome that I want for myself. I'm not trying to sound rude, but, you know... Right. I want someone who has succeeded at the thing that I'm trying to do to give me advice. And I was like, and discernment is so important because my mother-in-law says this a lot. She goes, she was like, you eat the meat and you chew out the bones. You get rid of the thing that is not digestible. You get rid of the thing that is not going to provide nourish you. Exactly. I was like, so sometimes people have had an observation of experience and they can say, hey, from what I've been able to see, this is X, Y, and Z. But it reminds me of the situations of when you hear about you know, kids who are like, hey, my parents have been married for 25 years and they recently got divorced, and I don't understand how that happened because they always were happy, they always were this. No, they just knew how to hide the drama. That's so They knew how to hide the trauma. They knew how to hide what was broken, and they showed you the greatest part of them as a performance, so that they would not hopefully infect you with what was ailing them. That's so real. And I'm like, so when you're talking about about, hey, I'm transitioning, or I'm listening, or I'm getting counsel, and as a part of like these resources in what you're doing, it's important. I love that you said, I'm going to listen to the person who has the outcome that I want, because one, they're being transparent about the process that got them to the outcome.
And that's why the second tool that I would give anybody who is in a transition process is community.
Yeah.
Because if you are in a process of grieving the old you, it's going to be hard to do that with people who still behave like the old you.
Right.
Like, I mean, the friends who still fighting at the club, you know, the friends that still carrying guns places, you know, the friends who are still doing the things that you're trying not to do. Again, the friends that's going to tear the club up every night when you become a new mom. I mean, you need a community of people who are going to support you. And I know that, you know, you were talking about, like, for believers, that there were certain things that you believe that would be helpful, like fellowship, and, you know. So I would love to kind of touch on those things.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things was prayer. I was like, turning to prayer can provide a sense of peace and comfort during difficult times. You can pray for guidance, for strength, for wisdom to help you navigate the challenges that you're facing in this transitional period. And I think culturally, prayer has become this hollow word.
Yes.
And I'm like, and it's devastating, really, as a woman who prays and has been able to experience.
You pray for real.
Yeah. I want to talk to him. I got questions. You know what I mean? And also, I want to spend time and I want to have a conversation. I'm like, you cannot have a relationship with someone that you don't talk to. And I've said this before. So I'm like, that prayer time allows such insight and release for you, but also a pour in and an understanding of so many different, you know, levels. Then I'm like, going into scripture, right? Reading the Bible can be a source of comfort and inspiration, and you may find in certain passages and verses speak directly to your situation and provide guidance and wisdom for you. Like, I want to the Bible is something that is vetted information.
Yes, it is. And these are people who've gone through these things already. Why not learn from, you know, their mistakes?
Correct. And I love that you said community, because fellowship, surrounding yourself with people who have a sense of community support, and you can learn from one. I say fellow believers, right? And I want to, right? Because every believer ain't a disciple, and every believer ain't following this word biblically, right? That's another thing. And I was just like, I was like, use wise counsel of those who you're surrounding yourself with, right? I was like, not ones who claim to have arrived, right? I was like, but the one who recognize that they are being and becoming at the same time. Like, they recognize that they have accepted God as their Lord and Savior, but that every day that they need His help, every day that they have to repent,
humility.
Every day, that they have that
and
in their forefront. I was like, but they also understand that the power that they have. And the authority. I was like, and they stand 10 toes down in it, as a friend of mine used to say. And I was like, and in serving others, helping others can be a way to take your mind off your challenges and find purpose in difficult times. You can volunteer in your community, at church, or whatever. I was like, surround yourself with people who are doing the good in the world that you want to be around. I was like, it does something to you emotionally, mentally, and it has an impact that goes beyond you, so that you understand the power of your touch.
And you're building the new you.
Yes.
Because these are the building blocks of the new you. The new you who's now transitioned from pain into purpose is someone who's going to be very purposeful in how they use their time. And I also have noticed in my own life, and I'm sure you could bear testament to this, when you serve, even when you're, you know, going through something, God has a way of planting people in the midst who can either give you a word about your situation or who are going through something similar.
Yes. And sometimes you get the benefit of being able to watch it play out in front of you and then see them choose either way. Either see them choose where they go for what God has called them to, or against God, and then you get the benefit of seeing the results of it.
Yes.
Right? I was like, that's a privilege, because sometimes you don't always get to see it in front of you, right? I was like, but go back to that scripture. And then the last thing is, I was like, self-care, taking care of yourself yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally is important for coping with stress and anxiety. This includes the things like exercise, healthy eating, getting sleep.
That's so big.
Sleep.
There's a lot of people out here who are popping off in these streets, y'all. The crime rate is high, and it really just is. They need a sleeping bag, bro.
Yeah.
Like in real life.
Yeah, I was like practicing relaxation. I was like, it's something as even as simple as breathing.
Yes.
Right. I think I did another episode where I talked about like the power of really taking like a deep breath, what it does to like your mind, what it does to your body, and how it gives you the ability to think better. A lot of times, like, we are not taking time to kind of like sit with ourselves to be able to even adjust to the thoughts that we're having. Like, our minds have mindfulness. Our mindfulness is sometimes neglected because it's going so fast. And tell your body what you needed to do by sitting down for a moment, even if you take 5 minutes, and literally breathe deep and settle, and then move forward.
I think that's so good. And I think that that's so good for so many reasons. You know, it makes me think about my therapist. She had COVID when COVID first started. Oh, wow. And because you went through that when it first started. Yeah. And I mean, she almost died. Yeah. She was literally on oxygen for 8 days. And she said that like on the 8th day, she just felt like the Holy Spirit remind her of that passage in Genesis where God breathed his breath into man.
Yo.
And she said that the Holy Spirit told her, breathe.
Yeah.
And she began breathing without the assistance of oxygen.
Yeah.
So when we do that breath work, we're actually reminding ourselves of our source.
Come on.
Because we can't breathe on our own. Yeah. I know we feel like There's a whole bunch of people who didn't wake up today who would have loved to breathe today. Yeah. We can't breathe on our own. So I love the mindfulness aspect of that. And I also love that, you talked about self-care, because that brings me to the third and final thing that I would give someone as a transition tool, which is grace, patience. Yeah. Gracious. We're going to call it gracious because we do compound words, and Black people like compound words. So grace and patience. Yeah. Because it's not going to be an overnight process.
It's not. And I love that you said that. I'm going to interject the breath part into that. Like, so some of you who know, and if you don't know, I got COVID 3 times. I got it literally, like, I don't know why it was coming to me like an annual anniversary, but it could stop. I don't need it again. Thanks. I got it in 2020, 2021, and 2020, and 2022. And in the last 2 times almost killed me, right?
Oh my goodness.
So, but I can tell you though, one of the first things when I was able to kind of like get the full capacity of my lungs was my appreciation for the breath that God gave me, right? And what it did was it caused me to treat myself a lot better and give myself some real grace and patience towards myself, because one, it puts perspective on what really is important.
Yes.
Like, there's some things that just has too much weight tied to it.
Your nail breaking.
Literally, I hate that joint.
But be in a position where you can't breathe and see how much you care about your nail.
Care about that. And I was like, and you start to really understand what is valuable. And here's the thing. The valuable thing is the one who has the breath. It's you.
Yes.
It is you. And we're gonna close this out because I think we said a lot. But treating you well is so important. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said one of the things that I had to learn in this benefit of after that you get to,
because really quick, we oftentimes are grieving the old us because we're thinking about the benefits of before.
Correct.
But you have to start thinking about the benefit vision. Think about the benefits of after.
Yeah, and I'm like, because when you get there, because I'm in this after place, and there is a depth of love, and there is a depth of self-appreciation. There is a depth of being okay with the fact that I could be a mess.
Yes, yes,
and having
a wretch undone.
For real. And I was like, and God still, here's the thing, and God don't treat me like a mess. My thing is, if God holds no good thing back from me, how dare I?
Yes.
How dare I hold any good thing back from me if God won't even do it when he has a reason to?
Yes. If he's still giving you unmerited grace, then why can you not have grace with yourself?
Correct. And so I just want you to hold that. If you were like, hey, what's the one thing I can just like bite size into it? Like, I want you to rewatch this episode. And I was like, because it's going to talk to you at different phases that you're in. But when you get to this benefit of after, the one thing that I think will just like settle into your soul is, if God holds no good thing from me, neither will I.
Yes.
Neither will I. I will be in agreement with God. I will be on one accord with him, and I will do good for me because he said that I deserve good, because he is holding no good thing from me.
Absolutely. And guys, you are both a human being and a human becoming. You are becoming somebody that the world needs more of. Even though it is difficult to transition into that new you, you have to become that person, because that's the person the world needs. That's actually the person that you needed.
Yeah.
That's the person you needed.
Say that.
So it's hard, and we get it, but we're going to need you to have a vision. We're going to need you to find the right community, and we're going to need you to give yourself grace and patience as you're grieving. Those stages are real, but so is God.
Yeah. So listen, at the end of it all, remember that we see you. That
we are you.
Yeah. We are listening. We love you.
We really do.
Like, for real.
We really, really do.
And we know we going to stand on it 10 toes down.
10 toes.
That God is going to bless you.
And even if you don't have 10 toes, stand on the toes that you have.
Wow. She always.
Listen, I don't want to be ableist. Not everyone has 10 toes. However you stand, friend. And we're standing with you.
Yeah. Amen. Later, guys.